Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome. We are your hosts, Josefa Kapadia and Jasper Rivers.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
Get Paid for Your Pad, episode number 259. I am in Barcelona and I found out that Lodgify, the software that you can use to create your own vacation rental website, has their offices literally a 10-minute walk from my apartment. I wouldn't have guessed that. Most startups are in San Francisco or they're in California somewhere. But yeah, Lodgify is in Barcelona. So I walked over to their office and now I'm sitting next to Dennis Klet, the co-founder of Lodgify. And so we're going to be talking all about what Lodgify does, what problem it solves, and how it can benefit you as an Airbnb host. So, Dennis, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jasper. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. And how long have you been here in Barcelona?
We started around 2014, so it's been like 4 years now. But personally, I commute quite a lot between my home and Switzerland. So I'm like always, I would say 50% of my time in Switzerland and half in Barcelona.
I mean, I love Barcelona. I came down here and I just rented an Airbnb for a month and then I decided to stay. How do you feel about the city?
It's a great city. I mean, you have, it's pretty unique in Europe. You have like a big city, but it's right at the beach. So that happens it's hard to find this in Europe. So it has a lot to offer. It's a big city. You have a lot of business going on. You have a lot of tourism. It's a nice spot. You have beaches. You have international talent. Great food. So it's a great quality of life. I can highly recommend to either visit, but also to live here.
And you can also go skiing. The ski resorts are only 2 hours away.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, you can go to Andorra, which is a very small country in the Pyrenees. I've personally never been there, but I heard it's quite a nice spot. And I think, it's just 1 hour away or something, 1 or 2 hours away drive. Mm-hmm. So you should check it out.
So just out of curiosity, why did you choose Barcelona as a city to be based out of for Lodgify?
Yeah, it's basically a historic reason. My co-founder Marco is the CTO. At that time when we started, he was based in Barcelona, so he already was living here. I had a job in Switzerland, so we basically had to take a decision where we were going to set up the business. It's easiest to either start it in Switzerland or Barcelona, the place where we live, and then we basically went for Barcelona because it has it's a bigger city. Costs are lower, quality of life is higher. So we basically said between those two options, Barcelona is the better option. At the same time, we already planned in advance. We knew that Barcelona was a thriving city in terms of upcoming city at that time for startups. Definitely not as big as London and Berlin in Europe. But we knew that it was a great place to start a startup, a business. And that's also what we see now. You have more and more startups coming from Barcelona. So I think at that time it was a good decision to actually set it up here.
It's definitely a lot more affordable than some of the other major European cities. Yeah. One of the reasons I decided to stay here is I had dinner on a really nice terrace in front of a beautiful church, and I ordered a bottle of wine and it cost me 10 euros, which is I think the same as probably a glass of wine in London.
That's right. Yeah, I mean I met Marco during university in England, like in around London, and the quality of life is there's a huge difference. And obviously, if you like wine, if you like good food, if you like seafood, it's definitely the spot to be at reasonable prices.
And who doesn't like wine and good food?
Exactly. Yes. Especially seafood. It's amazing down here with the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only been here for a month and a half, so I still have a lot of restaurants to explore and to check out. And I'm really looking forward to the spring. Mm-hmm. When the weather is still reasonably good. It's been raining a lot, but it's still not very cold at all. It's still a lot better than in Northern Europe.
Yes, compared to what you're used to, I have a funny anecdote that, I'm originally from Germany, from a ski resort, so it's quite cold down there. But my coldest night I actually had in Barcelona. And the main reason is the insulation is very poor, typically in the buildings. And it's quite humid. So for me, it was actually quite a shock how cold it can be during winter. But then it gets overly compensated in summer with obviously amazing weather.
That's funny. It reminds me when I was in Florianopolis in Brazil. I had a German friend there actually, and he told me the same thing. Yeah. He told me his coldest night was actually in Florianopolis, which is in the south of Brazil. You wouldn't expect it. But there, the temperature in June and July in the winter actually drops down to around like 10 degrees Celsius. Mm-hmm. But the houses don't have heating,
exactly.
Because you only need it for like a month or so.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, let's talk about Lodgify. First, can you explain what Lodgify does and how Airbnb hosts can use Lodgify?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Lodgify is a software tailor-made for private individuals to rent out their apartment or home on a semi-professional basis, so to make serious secondary income. But at the same time, we also target professional customers who do this on a professional basis, so we typically are property managers or small agencies. And our main value added to our customers is that they can build their own website with Lodgify that is really like 100% optimized for vacation rental. So the idea is that they can get direct bookings through Lodgify, handle payments, calculate the prices, the calendars. And at the same time, we synchronize all the data that you feed into Lodgify to the largest channels like Airbnb or Booking.com. So to basically make the management of the channels much more automated and less painful. One of the main values is really to get you started, build a website, get connected to the largest channels, so that you immediately get bookings from day one. And the second step, we really try to help to grow your bookings, mainly in form of automating the booking flow, especially with regards to payments, cancellation handling. But our ultimate goal is to really, make you independent from the large agencies, so that you basically have a business, where the largest chunk of your bookings should come direct. This is our ultimate vision of the company.
So just to clarify, you're saying that with Lodgify you can build your own website and you can connect it to the major platforms like Airbnb and Booking.com and the other ones, and so you can manage all those listings within Lodgify, right? That's
right. So all the content, like we normally differentiate between the static content, so which is basically photos, description texts. If you have one or multiple properties, so all of this you would manage inside Lodgify, but at the same time you would also manage your central calendar in Lodgify, including your prices. And so you only have one centralized place to manage the content, and we then export this data to the major channels like Airbnb or Booking.com to your own website. So all your channels are in sync. Mm-hmm. You only have one place to manage it. And at the same time, when you get bookings through those channels, like for example, through your Lodgify website, through Airbnb, through Booking.com, they would all flow into your centralized Lodgify inbox. So you only have one place to manage all those bookings.
Got it. You still need to create the listings on Airbnb and Booking.com and stuff, right? You can just create the listing in Lodgify and then it will automatically create it on those channels?
Yeah, it really depends case by case. With regards to Airbnb, you can do both. So if you don't have an Airbnb account yet, you can start from scratch through Lodgify. We will automatically push the content to Airbnb and create the listings for you. Mm-hmm. But if you already have an Airbnb account, a working Airbnb account, we can also just connect your Airbnb account to Lodgify, and then you can actually decide to synchronize only the prices and calendar data, or you can decide, this is mainly applicable to larger customers who do this on a professional basis with many properties, you can decide to override the content on your Airbnb account with the content from Lodgify, which is only, I would say, makes sense if you have a lot of properties and you want to centrally manage all those properties from one place.
Okay, cool. So I didn't expect that. So you can build your listing in Lodgify, and then Lodgify can literally like just export it to the Airbnb platform.
That's right. So this is very interesting for guys that are just starting out. So you don't even need to set up multiple accounts. You can just start directly with Lodgify and then manage everything directly from Lodgify. But then again, it depends sometimes channel by channel, not mainly driven by us, but more by the channel. So with Booking.com, for example, you would first need to create an account with Booking.com.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's talk about what's the main value behind Lodgify. Like, why would Airbnb hosts sign up? What do you think is the main benefit?
I think the main benefit is just to have one place to get started. You know, if you, like I saw with myself when I used to rent out my parents' vacation rental in Germany. You know, it's typically a one-man show, and you just need one place to manage all of this. So one value added is that you have only one place, which is Lodgify, to manage potentially multiple channels like Airbnb, Booking.com, your own website, which is something, even if you just have two channels, already becomes a pain to manage two channels. So the main value added is to just have one centralized place and have everything automatically synchronized. The other big value that I see is to actually have your own website, because it allows you to get direct bookings, which is specifically interesting for return guests, which is, I remember in my case, it was a very large chunk of guests that we had were people who came every year. And then obviously you have a financial interest that they book direct, because you don't need to pay the commission, neither does the guest. And it's also, you know, you mentioned business cards previously. It's obviously also a business card for you, where you can really showcase your property to the world, with the aim to, you know, present your business, but ultimately to get direct bookings. And then the other benefit that I see is the automation of manual processes. So, you know, in the past you would need to have, let's say, 3 accounts. You would need to log in on a daily basis to make sure that your calendar is up to date on each channel. If you change a price, you would need to log in again to make sure that the prices are up to date. Definitely the most painful one is the calendar management. And with Lodgify, you basically just need to do it once, and then we make sure that the data gets properly exported to all of the channels.
Got it. Yeah, I would say from our perspective, I think to have your own website is something that I feel like it's becoming more and more important. You know, back in the day when I started on Airbnb, I just put up my listing and immediately I was like fully booked. There was very little competition. People didn't really know what they were doing. But now it's gotten more competitive. And I think one concern that a lot of Airbnb hosts have is the fact that Airbnb at any time can close your listing, right? I mean, this has happened. This happens quite a lot, actually. I'm currently investigating a case of a lady in Australia who just got shut down because a guest made like a false accusation against her, and so I think that's a concern. It's a bit disconcerting, the idea that your whole business can in one day can just be shut down with outside of your control. So I like the idea of having some independence. I mean, and you can list on different platforms, right? So that also helps. But if you have your own website, then that's completely within your control. Nobody can do anything about it.
That's absolutely right. I mean, Airbnb is a great place to start, right? They do a lot of work to actually get you bookings. So I highly recommend everyone to be on Airbnb. But what you say makes sense. Obviously, if all your bookings really come only from one source, no matter whether that's Airbnb or another large agency, you are at risk to potentially have all your bookings depending on that one partner. So I think it's about diversification. It's like kind of making sure that you have a nice mix of your channels, of different bookings from different sources. And like you say, one way to diversify is by having different platforms, and there are different platforms out there. Booking.com, HomeAway, Expedia, TripAdvisor, they're all, I think, relevant platforms. But I think the most interesting platform should be your website, because it's like you said, it's really where you have full control. It's where you can really play by your own rules. You're not subject to certain rules that are governed by other big channels. It's really your place where you can have full freedom of what you want to communicate, and what you want to showcase, how you want to collect payments, have your cancellation policies. So it just gives you freedom, and then obviously there's also a financial interest to make sure that the more direct bookings you get, the less commissions you pay. And I think the ultimate goal of every Airbnb host or any professional property management business should be to reach independence. So it doesn't mean to not be on those platforms. I think I highly recommend to be on those platforms. So they're a great way to market your business and get bookings, but to reduce the dependency and diversify your business so that you're independent if something happens.
Yeah, because you can. I mean, it sounds great. Just start your own website, and you don't have to pay the fees, and the guests don't have to pay the fees, and you have control. But in the end of the day, you need customers, right? If you just start out with just your own website, then it's going to be really hard to get customers. Like, how are you going to do the marketing, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's why you want to combine it, like you said. And I think it also kind of puts the idea of having return guests, like people who come back. It kind of puts that on the map, because if you have your own website, then it's much easier to kind of like stay in touch with your former customers. It's easier for them as well to refer you, because that's why I mentioned like the sort of the online business card. Because if I stay at an Airbnb, I stayed at an Airbnb here in Barcelona, and it was a great place. So if somebody would ask me, hey, can you recommend that Airbnb to me? I'm not going to tell him like, oh yeah, it's airbnb.com/rooms/2605, something like that. I'll have to look it up and send them the link. But if it's like, epic penthouse Barcelona.com, then it's much easier to kind of spread the word about it.
Absolutely, that's I would say the passive source of bookings that you will get directly is the return guests who know you anyway. But at the same time, if you want to spread the word, you need that inverted comma business card. And one thing that we always also recommend, not just to our customers, but to everybody who's interested in renting on vacation rentals, is just to give it a name. That's kind of step one, because typically on the platforms, you don't have a name. It's more like a description, like kind of a headline on what your property is about. But it's so key to have a name, because that's what people can discuss with their friends, share with their friends, something people can Google. It's quite interesting. There's this phenomena of window shopping that happens where people discover a vacation rental on one of those platforms, but then they would Google the brand just to make sure to see whether they get maybe potentially a better deal if they would book somewhere else or directly, ideally, on your website. But also just to check whether that property is legit, just to see like, okay, does he have a website? Oh, it looks quite professional. Yeah, and it's something I can book. I feel comfortable booking it. And then it's a great source of, again, passive bookings that you get directly through your website. And that source shouldn't be underestimated. It's actually a quite significant source of bookings where, as long as you have a name and a website, you can get bookings without a lot of effort directly.
So I'm just thinking about certain like concerns that people might have. Like one thing that I can come up with is the idea of safety, right? Because one reason why people like Airbnb is, you pay the fees, but then at the same time you're guaranteed that you're getting the money. There's if the guest cause any damages, then Airbnb has that you can file like you can start a resolution. You can get like the security deposit. They have like what they call it, like the guarantee, the famous $1 million guarantee. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there are several ways to mitigate that risk. I would say the number one and most basic one, I think, would be credit card payments, to accept credit cards, because this will give naturally the guest the security to prevent fraud. Because the moment you, let's say worst case scenario, you do booking and you paid with credit card and it turns out to be a fraud, you can always initiate a chargeback. And as long as you have really, reasonable grounds that you can prove, yes, this was a fraud, you will get the money back. So just by accepting credit card payments is already a huge way to make a booking secure. So, that's something we also offer in Lodgify. So the way to make a booking through your own website, we offer credit card payments, and it's super easy. Like in one day, you can set up your Lodgify website and immediately start accepting credit cards. But then there are other elements. You mentioned the damage problem. Like what if someone damages your property? And that's something where we put our focus on actually now. It's something we're working on right now with the tech team to allow you to authorize the credit card that is anyway used for paying the booking, and authorize a damage deposit on it. So the idea is, instead of you actually needing to transact a damage deposit where someone actually sends you the funds into your account, which then you would need to refund if nothing happened, which is typically the base case, you would only authorize the credit card. So you're guaranteed that in case something happens, you can charge the credit card for the damage. So that's typically also how car rental companies deal with the damage problem. So that's something we're working on. And the alternative is you buy an insurance. So you can protect your property for damages by buying a damage protection insurance that either you pay for yourself or that you add as a fee on top of your price that the guest would pay. And like this, you avoid the damage deposit handling. So I would say these are the two main ways to deal with the damage deposit problem. And then I think it's about, sharing as much as information that you feel comfortable in sharing, that makes the guest comfortable in thinking, okay, this is this guy is a legitimate person and the property really exists. So it's potentially, connecting you to social networks, having reviews, certified reviews, badges that you can copy paste on your website. That also increases the trust component when doing a booking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you touched on a couple of things. Going back to the insurance that you mentioned, that's probably a good idea anyway. If you have a high-end Airbnb with a lot of, let's say you have some expensive furniture, it's probably not a bad idea to get some separate insurance anyway, right? Because, from what I've seen, getting money from Airbnb in case there's damage is actually can be a bit of a challenge. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of conditions when it comes to the guarantee, and also even getting some money from the security deposit. The security deposit is actually not guaranteed. It's not actually. Airbnb doesn't take money from the guest in case something happens. It's just that they will just charge it later, and mm-hmm. So if the card doesn't. If there's not enough credit on the card, then it might not even work. So I think having insurance, especially for high-end Airbnbs, is not a bad idea anyway. And I think there's a couple of companies that have popped up that are specifically catering to Airbnb hosts and vacation rentals, right?
I'm not aware of companies who are really targeting Airbnb hosts, but yeah, the insurance business is a very mature and existing industry. And I'm sure there are tailor-made products for vacation rental owners to ensure that kind of risk. And I agree with you, especially obviously the higher end your property is, the more interest you have in really buying an insurance. But the damage deposit authorization itself is also a nice way is a nice alternative. Mm-hmm. Where you basically say, the risk that you mentioned that the credit card might not have enough funds, you mitigate this by first authorizing it. So You say 2 days before you arrive, I will automatically authorize your credit card for the damage deposit. I will not actually take it. I will just block it. And then once you go, I will check whether everything is fine. And in case there's a damage, I can use that authorization and charge against it. Yeah. So in the base case now, you really have a guarantee that there are enough funds. So that's a nice way to mitigate this. But, both have pros and cons.
Yeah, exactly. So my point was that's actually better having, the authorization on the card. That's actually better than what Airbnb does with their security deposit, because the security deposit, they don't reserve anything, mm-hmm. right? So there's been a lot of instances where Airbnb hosts they thought they were safe because of the security deposit, and then it turns out that Airbnb didn't actually get that money from the customer or any sort of authorization. At least that's my understanding. What else is on the? Are there any other features that Lodgify offers? Anything else you wanted to mention?
Well, the modules that we have is the website builder. The website builder is basically where you can, without requiring any tech skills, within a day you can build your own website that is bookable. That is really our core module. The channel manager we're connected to Booking.com, Airbnb. Soon we're releasing Expedia and HomeAway. You can already connect to HomeAway right now with by iCal, but we're doing a full-fledged integration with them right now. And then, I think the reservation system is a core module where really most of the manual work happens that you do on a day-to-day basis. So managing bookings, seeing the guest detail, making sure that the payments arrive properly, especially if you have higher amounts where you might want to schedule payments. So you say, I want to charge 50% of my booking upfront, but the residual 50% before me collecting them by cash, once the guest arrives, I just automatically charge the guest's credit card again 1 day before arrival, for example. So all these kind of workflow automations, the email replies, having them automated, all of this is something that Lodgify does. And we will, we're a software company. We have a huge product team, and we will do nothing else than working on improving this. Yeah.
Cool. And if you want to find out more information about Lodgify, I actually tried it out. I created a website to see see how it works. It was actually fairly easy, and I'm planning to build one actually for my apartment in Colombia. That I'll talk more about that my apartment in Colombia in the future. I haven't actually put it on Airbnb yet because people keep wanting to rent it for a month or longer, and they're paying so much money. I almost feel like, well, why am I going to list it on Airbnb if somebody will just rent it for a month and pay me pretty much what I would expect to make on Airbnb? Mm-hmm. But I'm going to list it at some point, and I think my penthouse in Cali would be perfect for a Lodgify website because it's a pretty it's like a party pad, So I can already think of some cool titles like Cali party pad or something would sound pretty fun. But yeah, if you want to find out more about Lodgify, go to getpaidforyourpad.com, click on the tools and resources section, and there you can find lots of information. I've written a bunch of reviews of all the different tools that you can use to save time and help you with your Airbnb management. And Lodgify is on there as well, so you can check out the review. You can also get a 10% discount, by the way. And we haven't talked about pricing. Can you tell us a little bit about how much does it cost to use?
It depends how many properties you have. If you have one property, let's say with 2 apartments, or even just with 1 apartment, it starts from $29 per month. There are no commissions. It's something that we stand for to always give you an option to have a commission-free service. So yeah, that's about it. It's no setup fee. You can try it out for free. There's a 7-day free trial. So you can simply just sign up. It's a self-service tool. You don't need to have a sales call. You can just sign up, immediately play around with it. We have customers who sign up, and in a day they have their website up and running. So it's super accessible, and it's $29 per month.
Cool. And then if you use code GPFYP, which is of course the abbreviation of Get Paid for Your Pad, you get 10% discount. So don't forget to use the code. And also, like I said, if you want more information, you can go to the tools and resources section on my website, getpaidforyourpad.com. And of course, there you'll be able to find the show notes as well from this podcast episode. All right, well, that's it for today. Dennis, thank you so much for your time. And hopefully we'll get to hang out here in Barcelona, grab a beer sometime. It'll be fun. And for the listeners, thanks for listening. And until next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
for your pad. Get paid for your pad.